million.
We'll hear from the General Secretary as he repeats calls on the EC to allow birth certificates in NI registration exercise. Meanwhile, EC's two-day pilot registration exercise has ended amidst some challenges. We'll speak live to the parties on the assessment of the exercise and the EC as well. Also tonight, have you used the Tema motorway interchange yet? I bet you are on that stretch already tonight. Well, there's some controversy that has erupted over that particular interchange you may be driving on tonight, with President Akufo-Addo set to commission that infrastructure this week. The NDC minority is accusing government of taking credit for a project initiated by former President Mahama.
The president should do the right thing. Acknowledge the fact that the Tema motorway interchange is a baby of the NDC, the party of infrastructure. Even if he installs a statue of himself at the Tema motorway interchange, it will not change history.
In business, oil marketing companies yet to establish cause of the June 3 disaster at the Gold Service Station here in Accra, development that might not be good for industry practice.
And then later on, we continue our Spotlight series this week on some of Ghana's music legends. We hear from multiple award-winning high life great Charles Kojo-Fosu, popularly known as Daddy Lumba, whose career spanning over 3 decades gave life to the genre.
I'm really passionate about everything I'm doing. That's what has helped me for the years. And I'm grateful to God that I'm still capable.
I want to stay with us for that and more all here on News Night. Let's start with our investigations. The National Health Insurance Authority has launched a probe into reports revealing how the radiotherapy units of Kolebu and Kompanoche teaching hospitals charge breast cancer patients unapproved fees before they access medication which is free under the NHIS. An agreement signed between the government of Ghana and the Swiss-based pharmaceutical company Roche in 2018 provided breast cancer patients with a treatment, a drug called Herceptin, at no cost. But the radiotherapy units of the two hospitals are billing the patients for facility user, development fund, and chemotherapy fees before they can receive the essential drug. Now, Joy News' investigative journalist Kwete Nate reports the hospitals are making up to 300 cedis per vial of Herceptin administered to the patients. His report is read to you.
Today, when I'm here, they are telling me that to pay 250. That's why I'm surprised.
Vida, not her real name, is a middle-aged woman battling breast cancer. Her biggest worry now is she spent all her savings battling the disease. Now her business is on the verge of collapse.
All my money is finished. So yesterday when I came, they told me that the money is covered for insurance. So I'm glad that my money is okay for me. Today they told me that to pay the 250.
It's Vida's 5th time at the radiotherapy unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. She's being asked to pay 250 Ghana cedis before she's given medication. Even though she's covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme, she will not be administered the Herceptin injection until she pays the money. She's issued with an invoice containing facility user fees and chemo. In 2018, the Ministry of Health and the Swiss-based Roche Pharmaceuticals signed an agreement aimed at making Herceptin free for breast cancer patients under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Country Director of Roche, Philip Addison, said the partnership between government and the Swiss company was to eliminate the cost barriers faced by breast cancer patients in Ghana.
What we had given the government was supposed to be completely reimbursed by the NHIS, so that patients would not have to pay. So that money would not be a barrier for any woman who would need Herceptin for breast cancer.
But Joy News checks reveal since November last year, health officials at the radiotherapy unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital have charged patients 3 different unapproved fees before administering the Herceptin injection. In one encounter, 2 patients were charged separate amounts, 250 Ghana cedis and 200 Ghana cedis. on the 14th of November last year before assessing breast cancer medication. These monies were meant for facility user fees and chemotherapy, though none of the patients was offered chemotherapy. One of the patients we have decided to call Veronica said she sought explanation from the authorities at the radiotherapy unit of Kolebu on why she was charged for a treatment which was meant to be free. She was told the money was meant for consultation. She says,
"There is another one looking at your condition. There is an injection they give you, and for that one, NHIS covers it, but they still let you pay some amount to cover part."
If NHIS covers it, then it suggests that you don't have to pay anything. Have you asked them why they are making you pay when it's supposed to be free?
When you ask them, they tell you the radiotherapy unit is not, they don't take NHIS. So for their consultation and other things, you have to pay for it.
I have seen on the receipt that there is a cost for chemo. So when you pay the 200 cedis, do they conduct chemo on you?
No.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Daniel Asari, says his office isn't aware of these charges and has not sanctioned them. But head of the radiotherapy unit of the hospital, Dr. Joel Yane, tells us the patients are not supposed to pay these fees. The discrepancy was caused by delays in relaying the information to the facility not to charge breast cancer patients after government entered the agreement with Roche to absorb the cost related to breast cancer treatment in July last year. We began the investigation into the payment of these unapproved fees in November 2019. It means this delay Dr. Yane talks about has persisted for 5 months while patients were paying monies they weren't supposed to. Next, we traveled to the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, to ascertain how the free breast cancer care program was being run there. We met Ajua Kunedu, not a real name. She's one of the breast cancer patients assessing care at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. She was charged 60 Ghana cedis for breast cancer treatment.
I was told I would require an injection to manage cancer. The drug, which is called Herceptin, will be injected into one of my sites. Health officials indicated that is costly. I am charged 10 cedis when I pick up my folder, 20 cedis before the injection is administered, and finally 30 cedis for laboratory tests.
Ajua Konadu was also not supposed to be charged these fees under the existing agreement. A report on the implementation of the project to include the Herceptin injection on the medicine list of the National Health Insurance Scheme added the injectable at a reimbursable cost of 3,914 Ghana cedis to radiotherapy units of Kolebu and Kath. Sources at the National Health Insurance Authority tell us these units of the hospitals make 300 Ghana cedis in excess profit per vial of the Herceptin injection they administer to breast cancer patients. Head of the Oncology Department of Kath, Dr. Osebonsu, disclosed the monies charged breast cancer patients would go into the Unit Development Fund. Clinical oncologist at Kath, Dr. Frances Margaret Williams, sheds more light on the rationale behind the fees charged breast cancer patients.
Every time a patient comes in to see a doctor, as in for a consultation, we have what we call a ward fund. The ward fund is meant to manage the place. As in, you come, you want to use the washroom. After using the washroom, you need soap to wash your hands, some tissue. If a light bulb is not working, it's not now that we have to run to central management. We have to be able to do very little things. So we rely on that money to do those very little things. So every patient pays 10 cedis for the little things that we need to get the place running. And then for the patient on Herceptin, we pay the other 10 cedis is for the consumables. To get any injection, you have to give it sterile. So the consumables that we need to give the medication under sterile conditions. Yeah, basically, that's what that 20 cedis is meant for.
But Country Director of Roche, Philip Addison, says this defeats the purpose of the program to provide free medication for the hundreds of women living with breast cancer.
That would be odd, because I wouldn't understand why. I wouldn't know why they are paying, because they are not supposed to pay.
Quitinatis report for Joy.
Well, that's Quitinatis report read to you. Well, the National Director of the Oncology Center at Kolebu, Dr. Joel Yane, admits the facility takes those fees from the patients because the cost of service at the radiotherapy unit is not borne by the government.
Chemotherapy is not for free. Indeed, we are accepting the form which was used for about 7 years was IV4. Patients, the nurse who is administering has to wear a coverall, mask, it comes with IV fluids. There are other costs attached to it. And the something is also not given alone, it is given with other drugs, which may not be free. So, even though the drug itself is free, there are service charges.
Well, our understanding with the documents that we have from Roche, the agreement, it says that you make up to 300 cedis on every vial you administer, and that is also confirmed by the National Health Insurance, and those monies are supposed to take care of the other expenses that come with the administration of the drug. And so why are you charging anything at all?
Service fee to cover the things that we have to use to keep the drug.
Yes, but patients are not supposed to bear the cost of that per the agreement.
To be borne by who?
By government, through the NHIS.
Up to now, that is not happening. So the service.
And so Dr. Yani, you are not denying that you are charging these amounts. Your reason is that government is not giving you the money as expected.
My reason is that it's service fee.
It is service fee, but you're not supposed to be charging. You're supposed to go through your administration, through the NHIS to make sure that the monies are paid. Have you done that?
We did not receive any money for that. It's service fee, and that is what it's trying for. It is not exactly so.
So what is the situation there?
When acceptance is given, what you are saying is starting to. And when the acceptance is given, it's given with another drug.
Which other drug is this?
It's called paclitaxel.
Okay.
And the paclitaxel may or may not be on the health insurance. The supply is a bit erratic. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not on. So the situation is not as simple as that.
How much do you charge for this extra medicine that you administer alongside Herceptin?
I don't know exactly, but it is billed by people involved. It's around that.
But are you charging facility user fee? Are you charging for chemotherapy as well?
Yes, we charge for facility user fee.
How much do you charge for facility user fee?
It depends on what the patients use. You need gloves, you need a coverall, you need a face mask, you need IV fluid.
Can you give us a range?
It will range from about, let's say, 150 to about 50.
150 to
about
250.
We are supposed to we are running a service, and we need this accoutrement. At the time of service delivery, we need to give IV. At the time of service delivery, a cannula is used. At the time of service delivery, if at the time the drug is not available, we have to report, not the other one. So there are costs involved that has to be covered.
Now the NHIS board says the fees you are charging are unapproved, and this is Dr. Selby. How do you react to that?
She hasn't proven that it's unapproved.
She hasn't proven that it's unapproved? You are doubting the NHIS boss?
Yes.
Very well, sir.
Well, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Lydia Johnny Selby, says it's disappointing for the two units to be ripping off patients. She says her team has begun a probe into the matter.
All the drugs on NHIS, we give a markup from the manufacturer to the retailer to cover, sort of a little extras here and there. That is why it gets very difficult to take extra money as well. In the case of Herceptin, because we negotiated directly with the manufacturer, there are no middlemen between the manufacturer and the teaching hospitals. Every bit of the markup goes directly to them. So again, it is extremely disappointing to find them take from the patient on top of this. Patients are the most vulnerable. Even when it is wrong, they feel so vulnerable that they cannot make a protest. A few have had the courage to come to us, and the team of provider services and provider payment directorate are investigating. I'm waiting for their final report.
The hospitals may argue that it takes long before their claims are reimbursed. That's why they feel the need to demand these fees from the patient. How do you react to that?
We have done quite a bit in trying to catch up with the arrears and are due to make some substantial payments that will eliminate most of the arrears. There will always be a minimum of a 90-day just because for them to bring us the claims after they've seen the patient, and it takes time for 3-4 years. When we got into difficulties, they were taking money from the patient and we still paid. It works out to double payment. By now, they should have at least had excess payment for them to be able to stop these illegal payments if they felt it was because of arrears. I think there's a bit of bad faith going on here and it needs to be addressed.
Talking about addressing it, what's the NHIA going to do?
We are, as I said, we have provider services and the provider payment directorate investigating the reports we have received. Patients feel very vulnerable and they find it difficult to sometimes report just because they know their lives are in the hands of those they are reporting. It is a very delicate situation, but we do have some reports and some evidence, and I know my team are investigating and they'll bring me back a report so that we can address it.
Okay, that's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Lydia Jan-Selby. And trust us, we're going to be keeping an eye on the story. Kotinate will do so. I'll bring you the latest as and when we get it. I have some key news alert for you as we build up towards election 2020. And I want to take you to the NPP headquarters tonight, where the party just finished an emergency meeting and have taken a few decisions concerning its much anticipated parliamentary primary. My colleague Parker Wilson is there for us tonight. Parker, what can you report?
Right, so Evans, the National Executive Council of the NPP has approved the date for the parliamentary primaries, and we can report that on the 20th of June, the NPP will be conducting parliamentary primaries for its sitting members of parliament. In this case, where constituencies where the NPP has parliamentary candidates. Again, Evans, you know that normally parliamentary primaries, they gather the delegates at one venue and then they all go there and vote. This time the NPP is adopting a different approach because of the COVID. And what they are doing is that they're going to conduct the primaries at electoral areas. So where you have about 400 polling stations within the constituency and about 50 electoral areas. The electoral areas are the places where the party is going to conduct the primaries. So what it means is that the members of parliament or the aspirants would have to get quite a number of their supporters to monitor the process across board. And finally, we are told that the meeting is still underway, but the NEC is deciding whether to approve the nomination of the president to become the official flag bearer of the party. You know that the NPP has to go for a congress to acclaim the president who is leading the party into the 2020 polls. That hasn't happened yet. NEC is considering whether or not they need to organize a congress or right now issue a statement and approve that the president is the flag bearer of the party, since he was the only candidate who picked up nomination form at the time the party opened for nomination. So these are the information we have taken this evening from the meeting here. And finally, those who have appealed, the aspirants who were disqualified back then, and the appeals committee was considering the appeal. The appeals committee has put together their report and have submitted it to NEC this evening, and NEC is also going through that report. So by close of day, let's say by 7:30 thereabout, we'll get to know who is going to contest in the NPP parliamentary primaries, except for those who already know that they have won the ticket to contest in the primaries.
And that's Parker Wilson there, reporting live from the NPP headquarters. So 20th June 2020 is the date, the new date now for the NPP parliamentary primaries for these constituencies where the NPP have incumbents. And so that's going to be a very interesting one to watch. This is your election headquarters. We're going to bring you round-the-clock coverage of that particular primary from morning till the last result is known. The interesting thing to watch, the casualties that may fall anytime there are primaries in incumbent constituencies. So stay with us for that. Also tonight, the party's decided is going to decide whether or not to just simply endorse the president as the only candidate into the elections. That is almost a foregone conclusion. We're watching that space closely. We're bringing the latest once they conclude. They conclude with their meeting, which is still underway. By the way, I'm sure you know today the Electoral Commission wrapped up its piloting of the registration of voters. It's very controversial compilation of a new voters register. We're going to go around the country shortly and bring you an update of what it looked like at the end of day 2, the final day. But before we do that, the NDC General Secretary Johnson Nketia has been speaking, warning only 500,000 people from the northern, northeast, and the Savannah regions will qualify to register if the Electoral Commission insists on using the Ghana card as a prerequisite and an ID for the voter registration exercise. Listen to him.
To look at those who have been given the card, out of the 187,000, it's only 135,000 who have the card, and this represents 34%. If you adjust it by removing the minors, again, you are getting to another 100,000. So in the whole 3 northern regions, if they are compiling a voters register, and you have about 300,000 from north, 100,000 from northeast, 100,000 from Savannah, then maximum you are getting to about 500,000 out of about 1.7 million. So who are the rest? Are they Togolese, Burkinabe, or Ivorian? So that is how dangerous the path the Electoral Commission has chosen.
So Johnson Nketia, the NDC General Secretary there, was speaking just as the EC's piloting in selected parts of the country came to a close. I want to take you around the country now. The registration officer at the Northern Region Center, Benjamin Tate, says the problems they encountered yesterday have been rectified. It comes after the NDC complained of the lengthy registration process, but Mr. Tate says all other problems are now resolved.
I must say that the situation has improved a lot because as is expected, every exercise, the beginning of it comes with challenges. And so yes, we had challenges as rightly said. But for today, the only challenge was that we were unable to, at the start of the day, we were unable to register people who were coming in with guarantors. But in the course of the exercise, that problem was rectified. And so we've registered all those who come with guarantors. All other problems have been rectified. And so the exercise is going on smoothly.
Well, Volta Region has some challenges on the first day. And on the last day, Volta Regional correspondent Fred Kwame Asare reports the exercise has improved. He's been speaking to NDC's George Lowe and Emmanuel Boja.
And so you can see that everything is going on well. ahead of. But the pressure, there's no pressure here, so we will not be able to test the strength of the system. But the few I have observed, I've gone through the system myself. I've realized that there is an extremely improvement on the scanners, as you have seen. If the turnaround time is what it is with me, it means that not many people can be registered in a day. And also the whole idea of social distancing. In as much as people have the officials have their face masks and things like that, you would find that the distance is for me it's a bit problematic.
In the Western region, however, the exercise was suspended after the BVR machine broke down. Correspondent Natalia Kwanza spoke to the MPP's Rex John Thea and the NDC's Joseph Nelson.
One way or the other, I'm disappointed. The other side, I'm not disappointed in the sense that I believe that the problem that you're talking about is solvable. But it's rather unfortunate that because there's been a pilot, they chose to use one machine without backup. Had it not been the pilot program, if they were to be that, normally they would have used a backup machine. This problem wouldn't have arisen. So I believe because they are using only one machine for the pilot, there's no backup. Hence, they cannot continue with the exercise.
If the EC is minded about its credibility and the credibility of the system that they seek to deploy, okay, they should be the first to want to ensure that the so-called new machine works to expectation. I'm not interested, certainly the NDC is not interested in whatever the phrase technical H means. It's up to the EC to come to the public to explain.
Well, in the Ashanti region, my colleague Prince Apia filed this report.
The exercise, which was supposed to start at 7 a.m. this morning, started at 8 a.m. Some of the patrons had come here as early as 6 a.m. to go through the process.
It's important to me because I'm a Ghanaian and I have to vote. So if the demo goes on, I will know that after the registration, everything will be successful. I'm expecting that they will write my name, and I know that everything will be successful. I know that it's a demo, but I'm going to get a card so that I will explain it to people, so that they will know that this is what is going on. So there's going to be naming registration exercise.
Very Reverend J.B. Dankwa is my name. I'm a Methodist minister.
All right, so what is your motivation? Why are you here this morning?
So I have decided to take part so I can educate my church members.
Others, like the NDC electoral director, was not impressed with the exercise and points at faulty machines for the earlier delay.
So that's a wrap there from the Ashanti region, and of course we're waiting for a statement from the Electoral Commission on how the 2 days had gone, what challenges you've seen, and they rectified it. Remember, the registration itself begins in earnest last week of June. Still ahead, in Kwanta South, police rescue 4 children sold into slavery by their own parents to embark on the dangerous diving on the Volta Lake.
Compound where the suspects live. Behind me, one of the suspects, a lady in a cloth who is getting dressed. Another of the suspects is here, sitting on the mat, handcuffed to another suspect.
We have details of that for you shortly. Stay with us.
Mix the cement in correct proportional. Hey, contractor. Hey, what can you? What's your soul? Yeah, Malande. Sorry, I say. When you attend the year of return, Ankasa. Hey, contractor. A giant wasting year. Hey, what bush mama me feel it too much? Who project here? Me friend a gas them from top to down. If you are a gas them. Hey, yes, solid pa. Hey, you see gas them ah. If for soup you know what do? On your quality no question. Extra gas them cement biara. I will cook a crab be. Over 5,000 plus communities. And a gas them. I donations. SCC schools, I built a clinic. Now, when a packaging now, what's Shadara and environmentally friendly?
Never compromise on quality. Choose the value Gassem offers you always. Gassem, the nation builder.
Hello.
Why you bed?
It's 5 a.m. Of course I bed. Lockdown.
Guy, some series that they watch for Netflix. Too much.
You woke up to comment.
Which can wake up?
I've been watching from last night too.
You have data, eh?
Vodafone Adaroma. The too much bundles now be too much. See, Chuck, make an ad screen to the Skype call, then buy you guys a story.
Too much data is now double the data at the same price. So you can stay home and stay connected on Vodafone with too much data for the day and too much bonus from midnight till 4 a.m. That's double Ankasa. Terms and conditions apply. Dial *700# hash. Subscribe now. Ready?
Welcome back to Business Zone News Night, and coming up, oil marketing companies yet to establish cause of June 3 disaster at the Guel service station here in Accra. Development that might not be good for industry practice. GN Savings and Loans plans to reverse stay of application proceedings granted by the courts in its case with the Bank of Ghana. The Business News on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you? And remember, it has been 25 years of supporting those budding entrepreneurs out there.
When you want it, just Momo it. When you tire for the long queue in the supermarket, just Momo it. And when you really want that beautiful new blouse too, just Momo it. And when you won't get that, when you go get fresh to impress, you know who, just Momo it. And when you need to pay that your utility bill and domestic staff set, just Momo it. And when you want to send love to the family for back home, just Momo it. So many ways there. When you go use your MTN Momo wallet, make payments with scan to pay. When you go use the QR code, or you go use the merchant ID, or on bank POS terminal. You go also transfer money between mobile money wallet and bank account, all on MTN Momo. Enjoy real convenience in all your financial transactions and live life the brighter way with MTN Momo. We are good together. Just Momo it. We're there for you everywhere you go.
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. We do. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
We know it's important to create a productive and supportive working environment by investing in your employees' health. With a leading international track record, Apex Health Insurance is regulated and licensed by the National Health Insurance Authority to provide medical insurance services to institutional clients, families, and individuals. Apex Student Package and International Medical Solutions are all here to cushion you. Visit Apex Health Insurance Office at Zion House, Boundary Road, Shiashi, or call
0501-683-914
or 0232-000-015. In Kumasi, we are located opposite Prempeh College, Sofo Line, and in Takrady, Apex Health, your preferred health insurer.
The moms and dads out there, we are bringing schools to the radio. The Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, GBC, and USAID are starting an exciting new radio education program. It is the Ghana Learning Radio, the reading program. Beginning 15th June 2020, some of your favorite primary school teachers will take you and your child through exciting, interactive, and easy-to-follow radio lessons that will contain stories, interactive games, and humorous characters. We are planning 2 sessions of reading for B1 to B3 for your child from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, with repeats on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 4 to 5 p.m. During this outbreak of COVID-19, stay safe and get ready for a whole new way of learning. Tune into the fun on Unique 95.7 FM Accra and all GBC radio channels nationwide. Learn to read, read to learn. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education, GES, GBC, and USAID.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, oil marketing companies say they are yet to establish the cause of the June 3 disaster at the Gulf Service Station here in Accra. Now, this was even after government commissioned an independent investigation to establish the cause of the fire outbreak and make the necessary recommendation. Now, they are saying that the incident which happened on June 3, 2005 was said to have killed more than 150 persons. The recommendations from the government committee was expected to help shape industry practice and avoid such future incidents. But Chief Executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Ajimandia, tells Joy Business this is not good for the industry.
Here was a situation where we had an incident. It was not properly investigated because as of now, even 5 years from there on, you have not received a copy of the report, even to know what are the root causes were and what we need to do. We only have scattered information, like you all know. The stability which was put there, somebody was lighting stability and put out there.
That is very interesting. Does it mean that even the oil marketing company hasn't been given an official report on what happened?
I don't know oil marketing because that will go up.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. But the industry players, we don't know. Because you see, oil is only one out of the 116 oil marketing companies. So if you really want some things to be done as recommendations, you get into a parent association and we can disseminate and organize it. So everything that we have been doing, since that time, but we are not we have to do certain things. Safety, you don't end safety, you need to continuously improve. So we look at the situation and look at what we can do. The question we have asked is how did the oil come to the surface of the water? And it's something that we have also learned and we are beefing up us. But basically, what we heard is what we also did about this silver cigarette lighter. Only today that I got to know from this, today's telegraph on page 27, Timothy wrote that the main recommendation of the committee was that we should prevent floods, the blockage of drains which caused this incident to happen. And that's what was said as the root causes. And apparently, had not been doing telegraph, I would not have known that floods was also part of it. But we did our own, and our own was what informed us to put some of this in place.
Ajimandia is the Chief Executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. Now, the Bank Savings and Loans Company, that is lawyers for this firm, say they would soon move to reverse a stay of proceedings applications granted in its case with the Bank of Ghana. The Court of Appeal today granted Bank of Ghana's application to stay of proceedings in the GN Savings and Loans case in the High Court Human Rights Division. Now, this was to allow the determination of the Bank of Ghana's appeal against the decision of the High Court to hear the case brought by shareholders of GN Savings and Loans. The effect of the Court appeal ruling today is that the proceedings filed at the High Court by shareholders of GN are for now suspended. But lawyers for defunct GN say they were not aware of today's hearings, raising some serious questions about the validity of this ruling. Now, government has signed a €500 million contract with Amandi Investment for the construction of more than 10 kilometers railway line from the Takoradi city to its port. The project, which is the largest single government investment in the sector, is expected to link the Western Railway line to the port, the delivery of cargo without hassle. Minister for Railway Development Joe Gatti has been given more details about the signing to Joy Business.
Standard gauge between Takoradi Port and Huni Valley, forming a total of 102 kilometers of continuous single-track railway line with stations along the tracks, an initial workshop facility, and an initial complement of rolling stock. The indicated scope of works includes the construction, provision, testing, and commissioning of the following works: the construction of approximately 8 kilometers of standard gauge railway tracks connecting the existing dual gauge tracks in Takoradi to the Takoradi Port for easy and efficient access for cargo handling. The conversion of 10.6 kilometers of the track between Takoradi to Kojokrom from narrow gauge to standard gauge. This will include the conversion works and materials involved and the supply of 10 new standard gauge turnouts.
Well, the project is expected to undergo cabinet and parliamentary approval by October this year.
With the signing of the contract today, we must satisfy the conditions precedent before commencement. This includes approval from Cabinet to take the contract to Parliament. We must also complete the value for money audit and the environmental and social impact assessment. This is ongoing. If we work hard, we can complete all the remaining processes and commencement can be in October 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event is very significant. This is the largest single railway contract that has been signed in Ghana since independence. It is the first time that we have signed in one contract, a contract over $500 million.
Joe Garte is Minister for Railway Development. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you are a shareholder of Fan Milk, the value of each share held was down by 50 pesos to close at 2 Ghana cedis, 88 pesos. Gold was also down by 3 pesos and is now worth 1 Ghana cedi, 55 pesos. However, MTN was up by a peso at the close of trading today. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. George, thank you very much. Now, police in the Nkwanta South have rescued a number of children sold into slavery by their parents. At least 4 children were taken to shelters when the police and the International Justice Mission launched a nighttime raid on the shelters of the suspects. The children had been sold for as low as 500 cedis. Now, Kojo Yang Singh tagged along and now reports.
Imagine not having 3 square meals to eat a day. Imagine not being able to play like you ought to play as a child. Now, just imagine being beaten by a paddle.
Meet Leo Akun. He is Director of Advocacy and Partnerships at the International Justice Mission. They rescue child slaves here in Ghana.
Imagine having scars on your body. Imagine as a 4-year-old child, you wake up early in the morning and all you're asked to do is to go and push a boat onto the water.
Child trafficking is the dirty little secret Ghana has been sweeping under the carpet for decades. Children as young as 4 are sold for as little as 500 Ghana cedis to boat masters who use them for dangerous, grueling work, fishing on the Volta Lake and other water bodies.
We have 17 armed men, 3 detectives, and there are some female and some CPAs among them.
Today, I have been offered the opportunity to ride along as the Nkwanta South Police launch a daring late-night raid to rescue some slave children and apprehend their traffickers.
And we are going to embark on an operation at a village in the Nkwanta district called Lako.
Intel for tonight's operation was gathered by undercover investigators who spent several weeks risking their lives to get close to the suspects and observe their criminal activities. It is time. In a fast-moving convoy, we set off on our mission. The journey to the target's location takes almost 3 hours. Suddenly, we emerge out of the darkness into the suspect's courtyard. As expected, everyone is asleep. The armed policemen start waking people up.
We're here in the compound where the suspects live. Behind me, one of the suspects, a lady in a cloth who is getting dressed. Another of the suspects is here, sitting on the mat, handcuffed to another suspect. There are family members all around. The suspect's children are here. We've identified 3 of the victims.
But what does freedom mean to children who don't realize that they have been trafficked?
So how many years have you been working with Papa on the lake?
For the Kange.
1 year.
The youngest is about 10 years old, but he is no bigger than a 5-year-old child. Let's call him Prince.
So, when you are fishing, what is your job in particular? What do you do in particular?
He paddles.
He paddles?
Yes.
Is that hard work? Is it difficult? You must be very strong.
So that's Kojo Yang Singh's report there, and thankfully he joins me via Zoom. Kojo, so you told us how the children were rescued. Where were they taken and how are they faring now?
Well, as we speak, they are in the custody of the social services, and they will be keeping them in a privately owned shelter owned by one of the NGOs that run shelters here in Ghana. The reason why it'll have to be a private shelter is because the government of Ghana has only one shelter in Ghana for children. But while they are there, they will be receiving all kinds of care, both psychological assistance to help them assimilate to what has happened to them and help them deal with it so that they can reintegrate safely into society. 3 children were rescued on this particular operation, 1 girl and 2 boys. And it is a very long road indeed, Evans, from this point until the point where they will feel confident and safe enough to reintegrate into society safely without fear of being re-trafficked.
And I guess that raises the question I was coming to, the timeline for reuniting them with their families, if at all.
Now, as of last week, there was a team on the ground in the town of Bator, which is in the Oti region. This is where the children say their families are from. So there is now a process underway to identify these families and to understand whether these families were complicit in the trafficking. Because the children do tell some stories of their mothers, in some cases, having handed them over to the suspects. So there is a need to understand whether their parents were tricked into handing them over or whether they were complicit in actually trafficking these children, as is often the case, unfortunately, in these cases. So the team will find out soon enough what the reality is, and that will determine the timelines at which these children can be returned to their families, if that is indeed an option.
Kojo, thank you very much. Now, with the December elections now just 5 months away, you can expect everything to be hotly contested, including who takes credit for the yet-to-be commissioned Tema motorway interchange. President Akufo-Addo will this week commission the project, but at a news conference today, the minority spokesperson on roads and highways, Kwame Abuja, took on the government for attempting to take credit for a project he claims John Mahama secured full funding for and initiated before he lost power in 2016.
Let it be known, that project is just that the president of the day is the president that saw to the completion of that project. But never anywhere did the NPP actually promise that project to anybody. So the president should do the right thing. Acknowledge the fact that the Temamoto interchange is a baby of the NDC, the party of infrastructure. You just inherited the construction phase of it. Signing the grant agreement, NPP couldn't have decided not to sign it because it was free money given to us by the good people of Japan anyway. So we are using the opportunity to tell President Akufo-Addo. He's even built an altar like this where he will be using to commission the project. I thought that money should have been used to buy some PPEs for our health workers. No amount, even if he installs a statue of himself, at the Mamoto Way interchange, it will not change history. The history is that the NDC, the party of infrastructure, is the one that envisioned and decided to build the Temamoto interchange.
Well, the Roads and Highways Ministry says they've taken note of the issue, but they'll respond when the project is commissioned. In fact, they tell us that the minister will address the chronology of how the project came to be implemented, and we're watching that closely. Let's do sports now. Benedict is here with details. Hello, Benedict.
Yes, Evans. Now, it will cost each Ghana Premier League team 60,000 Ghana cedis for testing players and paying of all precautionary measures to stage a game should the Ghana Premier League return. Now, this is according to Sports Minister Isaac Isiama. Now, some club owners and stakeholders have been calling for the return of football after 2 months, and in a bid for the resumption of football, Honorable Isiama reviews it will cost more than 500,000 cedis to stage each game in the Premier League.
To look at even playing it on an empty stadium across the country. The guy who quoted was a huge challenge because not only about going to play, putting in place and all these professional measures. How do you get the players to get to know? Even sometimes it's risky putting them at the hotel. So how do you get them on board? And how do you also disinfect the top of the country? Not only that, testing is key. You test each player. In our environment, Is it possible for us to play football without our support players? Major challenge. So these are issues we are considering. The figure that came out from the MEC was about 6 times a match, going on per match. And this is huge. For me, it's not only about the money, it's about the life of our athletes, of our footballers. How do you ensure that they are safe at all these league centers?
That's Sports Minister Isaac Isiama speaking there. Now, Tottenham Hotspur have had one positive coronavirus result in the latest round of testing by the Premier League, and that person will now self-isolate for 7 days. This was the only positive result after 1,197 players and staff were checked in the latest round of testing. And that's the sport, Evans.
Thank you very much, Bernadette. Now, I'm sure you know by now that anyone exposed to COVID-19, a COVID-19 patient is usually asked to isolate for 14 days. But what happens when the person exposed is a health worker? Well, some health workers in the central region are faulting health authorities there for not allowing them to isolate for 14 days after some of their colleagues tested positive for COVID-19. They insist they should have been allowed to spend the mandatory 14-day period in isolation while waiting for their test results rather than being asked to return to work. But health authorities in the region have discounted the claims. Richard Kodonyako has been investigating.
Something is going contrary to the known protocol.
Meet Akosia, as I have chosen to call her. She's one of the house staff whose sample has been taken after 19 of her colleagues at the Elmina Polyclinic tested positive for the virus. The sheer numbers of house staff who've tested positive for the virus in her facility scares not only her, but other colleagues
so
of
less
her.
than a week they are asked to return when results are not even available. Results of their samples taken is not available, but they are being asked to return. She just return to work. Whatever reason, we don't know. Can't just take anything for granted. That is our concern.
Akosia seems disturbed about how long it takes for results of test samples to be given, with some taking as long as 13 days. The biggest fears of Akosia and her colleagues are that they've been told by authorities to return to work while they wait for their test results, contrary to the expectation of spending 14 days in isolation. But the KEA Municipal Directorate of Health, where the Elmina Polyclinic falls under, debunks the claims of the health workers. Kathy Amper Bryant clarifies the situation.
They've all been screened already and we know their status. So their status is negative. They are negative. It is out of the hand surveillance that we have some being positive and some being negative. So the positive one have been isolated and the negative one keep on working. We don't have any health worker whose samples have been taken and still awaiting results. It is the positive cases whose first and second follow-up samples have been taken. And they are already at home. So they are supposed to come to work.
Okay, so what are health authorities doing about this? Let's bring in the Deputy Central Regional Director of Health in charge of public health, Dr. Godfred Sapon. Doc, so has this come to your attention, and what do you plan to do about the concerns of the health workers there?
Well, Evans, the strategy is quite clear on this. If a health worker tests positive for COVID, the protocol is that we have to isolate the person and then make sure they get treatment. After 14 days, we take another sample, and they have to test negative for two samples 24 hours apart. And if they are negative, we clear them. Their immediate contacts would have to be tested. And while they are waiting their test results, they have to isolate. And that's essentially what we're doing. If you are not an immediate contact, you don't need to stay to isolate and then stay off work. That's not how we do this.
It's not the case that those who have been tested positive have been asked to still come to work.
It's never true. It can't be. It goes against everything that we're doing. It's not possible for us to ask anybody who has tested positive to come to work. It's not done. We haven't done it anywhere in any of the facilities. If you're positive, you are asked to get care and to treatment centers, and you'll be taken care of.
Okay.
And the immediate contacts would also have to be tested, and they have to isolate.
Okay, I mean, so that's the view there from the health directorates in the region on this matter. Now, tension is growing tonight between the Public Affairs Directorate of Parliamentary Service and the Minority Caucus, with the NDC MPs unhappy with what they see as the one-sided nature of the Directorate's work. It follows an interview this week on Top Story on Monday with the minority spokesperson on finance, Kesla Tufolsing, who was calling for an audit into how COVID-19 alleviation funds have been used, in which he made the announcement that they had filed a question on the matter, but that question hadn't been admitted yet. Well, a statement from the Public Affairs Directorate contradicted that and said that wasn't true. The minority had today issued a statement challenging that. Case Tufolsing joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Tufolsing, you say you actually filed the question on this subject?
Thank you very much, Evans. Evans, you recall that I spoke to you on Monday after our press statement. And I indicated that, yes, the Minority Caucus, a member of the Minority Caucus, have filed a question. I never said I have filed a question myself. Subsequent to that, the Public Affairs Directorate decided to issue a statement, and among other things, said that I've issued a statement. I have asked for a question, and then the question, but when it's checked, apparently there's no question of the sort. But let me put the record that I have never said anywhere that I have asked a question. What I said is that the members of the minority, and I use the expression, we have asked a question, and indeed, the Honorable Mensah Akando, the MP for Duaboso, and the ranking member for the Health Committee asked a question on behalf of the minority. And the question was to find out, apart from how the government is preparing towards the COVID-19 and how to deal with the situation, they also wanted to have a breakdown of all cost details on how the $100 million that was announced by the president. The question from the Honorable Mensah Akando on behalf of the caucus. So I would have thought that the Public Affairs Directorate would have even asked us. One, number of points. The release that came from the Public Affairs Directorate, somebody fails to put their name there. So it calls to question who actually released that. Is it coming from the Public Affairs Directorate themselves, or somebody faceless decided to issue it on behalf of the Public Affairs Directorate? And number two, we've seen a trend where the Public Affairs Directorate of the Parliamentary Service has all of a sudden become an appendix of the MPP majority in Parliament. I'm saying this for a reason. The reason is that recently, the majority leader, the minority leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrusu, wrote a letter to the Speaker. All of a sudden, the Public Affairs Directorate issued a press statement saying that the Speaker has not received it. The minority leader then came back and said that, look, we have evidence that it was even recorded. And the Public Affairs Directorate apparently has become all of a sudden.
But when you say that, it's an unfair criticism, is it not? Because
it is not.
When you say it's an appendage of the NPP, that's the
NPP majority in Parliament. And I'll raise another
simply
point.
Doing the job. Just because of time. I know you've also filed a formal petition with the Attorney General. With the Auditor General now, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And have they acknowledged receipt of this?
Not yet. It was sent in the afternoon around, I think, just before 4 o'clock, around 3:30 about. That was when the letter was sent to the office of the AG.
Okay. I'm grateful, sir. Just time, of course, is up on this. This is a conversation that definitely we'll get into. We try to reach out to the directorate to get their side of this. We're here to get a response. Calls have been unanswered. Once we do, we'll definitely hear from them. They have a statement out there already challenging the minority's position on this particular matter. I'll leave you with just a bit of Daddy Lumba. Enjoy the rest of the day.